How do you build a real estate business where your contacts and prospects call you when they need a real estate agent instead of you reaching out to them? We're going to talk about that today. Stay tuned. This episode of Keeping It Real is brought to you by Real Geeks. How many homes are you going to sell this year? Do you have the right tools? Is your website turning soft leads into interested buyers? Are you spending money on leads that aren't converting? Well, Real Geeks is your solution. Find out why agents across the country choose Real Geeks as their technology partner. Real Geeks was created by an agent for agents. They pride themselves on delivering a sales and marketing solution so that you can easily generate more business. Their agent websites are fast and built for lead conversion with a smooth search experience for your visitors. Real Geeks also includes an easy-to-use agent CRM. So once a lead signs up on your website, you can track their interest and have great follow-up conversations. Real Geeks is loaded with a ton of marketing tools to nurture your leads and increase brand awareness. Visit realgeeks.com/keepingitrealpod and find out why realtors come to Real Geeks to generate more business. Again, visit realgeeks.com/keepingitrealpod. And now, onto our show. Today's episode is brought to you by Corded.io. Are you looking for agents to join your brokerage or team? Now, as a real estate recruiter, I can tell you the answer is always yes. But most agents aren't looking to move right now. So how do you know who to contact? Well, what if I were to tell you there's a recruiting and retention tool powered by artificial intelligence that shows you exactly which agents in your local market are looking to leave their brokerage right now and which agents at your own firm are also looking to leave you? Now, I've been recruiting realtors for 15 years and I've hired over 2,000 agents. I can tell you with no exaggeration, this is the tool I've been waiting for. Corded's AI looks for trends across dozens of variables for each agent in your market and shows you which agents they believe are likely to move. Not only does it do that, but Corded's AI went and visited my recruiting website and read everything I offer. So now when I'm recruiting, Corded's AI tells me exactly what to say based on that agent's needs and what my brokerage can offer. It even writes emails for me. I've never seen anything like it, and I use it every single day. Now, if you are looking to grow your brokerage, Corded.io is the best tool out there. Visit Corded.io to schedule a demo. Again, that's Corded.io. And now, onto the show. Hello and welcome once again to Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made by real estate agents and for real estate agents. My name is DJ Paris. I am your guide and host through the show. And in just a moment, we're going to be speaking with the top team, one of the top teams in all of New Jersey, the Bruen team. Ryan Bruen is our guest. He's going to talk about how he builds relationships with his sphere, and he does an amazing job of this. You'll get a sense of that, and you can take that right into your business. Before we do that, just a quick reminder, the best way that you can help us is by telling a friend about this show. Think of another agent that's struggling right now. And by the way, agents are struggling right now. It's a tough market. In most of the markets from what fans tell me, listeners tell me, and even our own agents here in Chicago tell me that it is tough. We have low inventory, we have high interest rates, we have lots of people locked in at 3% mortgages who don't want to move. So there are challenges right now for agents, and also, the new compensation structures, made things a little tougher. So let's help each other by sharing this podcast, letting other agents know there are solutions. And we talk to agents all the time, every week on this podcast about how to overcome those challenges. Just send them a link to this episode or tell them to subscribe to the podcast or find us on YouTube or Spotify or wherever they find their podcasts. We would appreciate it. And also, if there's somebody in your market that you're like, I want to know what that person does. I don't know that person, or I don't have access to that person, but they're crushing it. You tell us, you reach out to us and say, DJ, I want you to talk to so-and-so. We will find them. I will get to them. We will get them on our show because I want to help you learn what your avatar, your person at the top of the mountain in your market is doing. I can get to them. I can get them on our show, and I can do that for you. So just let me know who that is, and I'll reach out to them, and we'll see if we can do an episode for those people. Or if you yourself are a top agent and you're like, I have a story to share, hey, reach out to us. We get pitched every single day by PR companies and publicists and just all sorts of different agents. But we oftentimes realtors don't market themselves that much. So if you have a story to tell and you think it would be great on our podcast, let us know. We'd always love to hear you. All right, let's get to it. My conversation with Ryan Bruen. What's the best piece of real estate advice you ever received?
So the best piece of real estate advice that I ever received, I believe, is I got it from my father, and it wasn't exactly a quote so much as, and my father worked in real estate for his whole life. He worked in management at Coldwell Banker for ages, started when he was young, working for my grandfather's brokerage. And I remember when I did my first year of real estate in Manhattan, and I moved out here to New Jersey, teamed up with the family, and one of the things that I first noticed when I was setting up my marketing is we had these really nice custom bound books that we could put together, a nice binding machine in the office at my previous brokerage. And I came to my current brokerage, and at the time there were these outdated binding machines that looked like they were about 20 years old. And I was complaining, saying, I can't believe that we don't have the nicer binding machines. I felt it was really important. And he said, listen, if it's that important, let's look into it and see what it costs. And if these binding machines are going to be that valuable to your business, then you should go and buy one and figure out how to do it on your own. Don't wait for your brokerage to be able to provide it for you. And I did. And at the time, that was a really nice advantage that we had. Not a lot of people in our area were using that, but it also just really kickstarted the idea that, hey, if, don't wait for somebody to do something for you or something to be provided for you. Like, if it's important, if it's necessary, if it's going to boost your business, help your clients, figure it out and find a way.
Love it. Worst piece of advice you ever received in real estate?
So I think the worst piece of advice I received was from him and some other agents that I knew in New Jersey back when I was starting in Manhattan real estate. I had a big network within the New Jersey real estate industry. And him and a lot of the others at the time said, good luck, but there's really not a lot of assistance and advice I can give you because we're in the suburbs, you're in the city, and everything's different. And then after making the move here to New Jersey and working in the suburban market, I quickly learned that while there were many differences at the core of it, everything was kind of the same. So, I kind of learned that however different markets might seem, at the end of the day, at the core of them, they really operate the same. And if you can get those core fundamentals down, you can operate in any different market environment.
Perfectly said. Ryan Bruen is our guest today. He is the team lead for the Bruen team servicing Morris and Somerset counties in New Jersey. He is the number one Coldwell Banker team in that area of New Jersey. Ryan takes the time to ensure that your property is marketed for greatest impact by specifically targeting, this I love, the right buyers. He possesses a balance of quantitative and qualitative skills thanks to his numbers background as an accountant and his creativity honed via his marketing degree and entrepreneurial endeavors. Ryan has earned the designation of Luxury Home Marketing Specialist, which is amazing, from the Institute of Luxury Home Marketing. I want you to follow Ryan on Instagram. Two different channels. First is Bruen Real Estate. That's his team Instagram account. And then Ryan J. Bruen is his personal. Follow them both. He has great content on there, and we will have links to that in the show notes. Ryan is also a smart home nerd who's obsessed with many technological advances that can make homes more efficient, convenient, and comfortable. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, DJ.
I'm really excited to chat with you. I think, I'm sure I've had other New Jersey agents on. We've done over 600, maybe 700 episodes now. I can't remember. And,
Mhm.
but I haven't talked to as many New Jersey people as I'd like. And I always love talking to New Jersey agents because there's just an authenticity to New Jersey that is very prevalent. But let's talk about it. So you come from a real estate family. Um,
Yes.
what did you do beforehand?
I've done a lot of things beforehand. Just before getting into real estate, I worked as an accountant, a licensed CPA. I still keep my CPA license active, even though I don't practice accounting anymore. Um, but I did a wide variety of other things professionally and an amateur level, from graphic design to film production. Worked with a startup music business, not only helping to do some web design, but also business development and pitching investors. Um, so I really had a lot of varying experiences, within the professional world before jumping into real estate.
Yeah, you are clearly a creative guy as well, but also you've really balanced both logic and creativity. So tell us about, is that kind of your secret sauce? Is that you do both sort of the fun, creative, aesthetic stuff as well as the quantitative, you know, number crunching side?
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's just that I do the fun, creative stuff and also the quantitative side. I really like to mix the two. I like to build, I like to create, I like to think outside of the box. So it's not just coming up with funny videos or creative marketing pieces. It's also using that creativity to really take data, take analytics, take systems and processes, and build and shape them in a way that helps myself, my business, my team, and my clients.
Yeah, I love that. Tell us, so your father's in the business. He worked at Coldwell
Mhm.
Banker. He was in management. Um, how did you always want to be a realtor, or did it sort
No,
of no? Tell
no.
me the story.
People always assume that because my family was in the business, that I wanted to be in the business because of that. If anything, that probably kept me away from the business, um, for a while. Growing up in it, I always just had this attitude of, all right, that's great, but like, everybody wants better for themselves than what they grew up with. So I thought, well, if they're doing that, then I need to find something bigger and better to be doing. Um, but I really just have a great love for real estate. I spent time in high school and college doing home renovations and construction, and then when I was living in Manhattan in New York City, working in accounting, I found that um, I all of my free time was spent walking around, looking at the architecture, looking at the different types of homes, and even working on various clients. I had some clients that were law firms, and auditing their financials and their escrow accounts. I just found myself caught up looking at building plans and floor plans and different purchase contracts rather than uh, spending the bulk of my time where I was supposed to be in looking at the financial accounts.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You really seem to hover around a lot of different interests, and those
Mhm.
kind of nicely coalesce into a real estate agent position. And let's talk a little bit about um, what's going on in your market right now. So I always like
Yeah.
to talk about where the challenges are because every market has its challenges. I hear a lot of agents these days talking specifically about inventory. I don't know if inventory is an
Yes.
issue. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, what I always think about is, 5 years ago, we all refinanced into 3% mortgages or 4% or very low rate lending
Yeah.
platforms. And, we don't want to give that up. The
Right.
homeowners, or certainly we've been enjoying the benefits of not having to write those big checks every month, and it really creates a problem for homeowners who don't have to move, but
Right.
could move because their home's appreciated, but maybe feel a little bit hamstrung because, like, gosh, I don't know if I want a 7% mortgage. So
Right.
I'm
So
curious, like, how are you guys dealing with
I
that?
typically don't like to. So you know, if you get to know me, you'll find that I don't look at problems at face value. So yes, most of the people you're talking to are saying that the problem is inventory, but the real problem lately is motivation, motivation to move. And one of the big factors behind that, yes, you're right, is the interest rates. A lot of people locked in at lower interest rates than there's currently in the market. Um, so it's really a motivation problem. It's not that people don't want to move and don't, the
Yeah.
same old life events that motivated people to move in the past are still existent. However, a lot of the financial motivation behind that just isn't there. Um, Anywhere from, your upsizers who, while they would typically historically be more than willing to take on the additional financial burden, that additional financial burden has been increased to the point where that mostly emotional decision becomes much more of a financial decision. And then I think the biggest constraint on the market comes on the other end of the spectrum, which is the downsizers, the empty nesters who have homes that are too large for them, or not too large for them, but larger than they need. And not only is there no financial incentive to downsize, they might say, "Hey, listen, this home's much really bigger than I
Oh,
need,
right.
but why would I move to a house? Even though I don't need a house this big, why would I move to a house half the size for the same amount of money?"
Yeah,
um,
that is a boy, you're the first agent to really bring that to my attention. I feel silly for not thinking about that before. That is the other side of that coin, which is
yeah,
absolutely the truth is, yeah, why am I going to downsize? I don't want to take care of this big giant house, but I got a pretty good deal on it. So,
yeah, and
and
I'm actually having that conversation with a lot of potential sellers right now. That you know, People who are at the age where they think they should be considering downsizing, and they should be. And we sit down and they want to go over the finances, and they assume that they're missing something because it looks like a pretty much a wash to go from a big house to a townhouse. And I have to explain to them that at least around this area, it's less of a financial move and more of a lifestyle move.
it
You're not
is.
going to
And
save a lot of money, but you don't want to be, even if you have the money, doesn't mean you want to be dealing with calling the landscaper, calling the repair person, all that stuff. That's when it really comes into play.
I agree.
Mhm.
I also think that peace of mind, there's a cost
Yeah.
associated with the feeling that you get when you walk into a home, and rates go up and down. And at the end of the
Hmm.
day, it's just a number that comes out of your checkbook that, if you've budgeted correctly, you probably don't pay a ton of attention to other than, it's there. And
Right.
at the end of the day, uh, if we're chasing numbers, like trying to just almost like chasing the stock market, it's the best time to get into the stock market is when it crashes, right? And so, of
Right.
course, that's the
But the
most
best time to buy a house is when you need a house.
exactly.
Mhm.
And so, in waiting for the market to crash, is is interesting because when it does, it doesn't feel good to throw your money into a
Right.
stock after the
Right.
company's missed
Everybody
its
likes
earnings report. But
they like buying a house when it's increasing in value because I just spent a bunch of money, but it's going up in value. But
yep,
no one feels if the market does go down, um, it doesn't feel good. But then also keeping in mind, if you look at the real estate market historically overall, typically the upswings are bigger than the downswings. We've got years of the market going up, and it's continuing to go up, even though that appreciation has slowed down quite a bit. Um, but overall, if you look back, yeah, it'd be nice to hit that dip, but at the same time, historically, we're probably going to look at this period and say, well, you know, yeah, we saw that small dip, but overall, if you bought around now, you're probably going to be better if the market continues to behave as it has historically.
yeah, it is very interesting. While past performance does not guarantee future results, if we do look historically, the the home values have risen over the last 150 years in a way that's pretty much a straight line.
Yeah.
It is not, certainly not to the moon kind of levels, but it is an investment that tends to gain equity over time, and as a result, um, and rates kind of do what they do, and then they
Yeah.
fluctuate and they change, and you can have that conversation with the homeowner that says, I don't, this isn't the perfect place for me, but I'm locked in at 3%. I don't want to get rid of it. And I think maybe the conversation is, well, I understand that. Who wants to get rid of that? Nobody. But
Right.
if all of a sudden rates came down to 5% today, here's what would happen. That,
Right. Right. You
you
don't
know,
want to be jumping in
everybody
same
who's
time as
waiting
everybody
just like
else.
you is going to
Yeah.
jump into the market, and it's going to be a mess because prices will go out of control because everybody's waiting for that exact moment. So perhaps it's even smarter, although maybe doesn't feel as comfortable, to make that push now and sort of weather a little bit of that storm, knowing that rates, kind of fluctuate from time to time. And if they dip at a point, maybe you can refinance, do something responsible with your money. But you're buying maybe at I don't know if discount's the right word, but certainly not at a premium.
Right. Right. I mean, I agree with you. Obviously add a bit of caution in there. When the phrase rates first went up from their extreme lows, I think there were a lot of agents who were mistakenly running around saying, marry the house, date the rate. Don't
Right.
worry, this is just temporary. Um, I was not a big fan of that whole campaign going on. Well, I did believe that at some point rates would stabilize or possibly come down. I thought that was a pretty ambitious gamble to be running around telling everybody to make. So you certainly do have to make sure that if you're going to buy the home and the rates are higher, that you can afford it and you're not gambling on them coming down in a certain amount of time to be able to fit into your budget.
Sure.
But I forget where I heard it, but I heard a quote that said, there's no such thing as a bad real estate investment, or a good time to buy or a bad time to buy. It's just, a varying amount of time that you have to hold on to that piece of real estate before it becomes a good investment.
Yeah.
So, if you buy it super low, great. Maybe the market flips around and you make a ton of money quickly. But, if you buy it, what would be probably considered in that point in time a high point, if you hold on to it long enough, you'll be looking back saying, wow, that was a great deal.
I think people too often look at their primary residence as an asset. And I oftentimes
Oh, absolutely.
I think of it not as an asset until the day you sell it. you know, it's
Right.
because it
Well, it's
costs
an
money.
asset in the definition of the word. It
Sure.
appreciates, but overall, you're right. I don't think most people should not be looking at their primary home as an asset.
Right.
They should be looking at it as a lifestyle choice. I think
Yep.
home ownership is great. I think the best reasons for owning a home are not uh, an investment standpoint.
Yep.
Financially, there are some benefits in the sense where you have some stability in terms of your payment. I think it is more financially sound than renting. While you do have
Yep.
maintenance costs that can fluctuate, and you do have taxes that can go up, overall, it's a lot more stable in terms of locking in your monthly payment for the long term than renting, where you don't know what your landlord's going to do. But I think especially lately, so many people have focused on the financial. Everybody wants to be an investment guru, and I think that that's the wrong way to approach owning a primary home. There are so many reasons. While it is, in many ways financially beneficial, there are so many reasons that owning a home is beneficial to you, your health, your family, the development of your family, the community. I think those are really the primary reasons for owning the home. And if you really look granular at, what your investment gurus would consider to be a good investment, it doesn't fall into that. I wouldn't say it's a bad investment, but it certainly doesn't fall into the category with a lot of the other things that we consider to be, great places to park our money.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And let's talk about the Bruin team. So you come
Yeah.
from this real estate team. You were one of the top teams really in all of New Jersey. And I would love to hear what makes your team special. Like, what do you think you're doing that gives you more leverage maybe than other firms?
Yeah. I think to really best summarize what I think we're doing that sets us apart is we're proactive. We're not waiting around for, to be told what to do and what to think. I think that's always been a nice a value proposition of ours. But especially in the last 5 years, when the market's been unpredictable, interest rates have been unpredictable, legislation has been unpredictable, technology has been unpredictable. Not only the unpredictable, but volatile, all these things. Um, we really pride ourselves in, as we mentioned before, figuring it out fast, not waiting for somebody else to come and, you know, and rescue us, so to speak. And every time the market shifts, legislation changes, mortgage rates change, while it's challenging and stressful, I've looked at all of those changes as an opportunity to get ahead of the competition. If everything stays the same, well, then it's hard to set yourself apart because you might be quick to learn and really ambitious, but the same person who sat around doing nothing, after a certain amount of time, they're going to know the same amount as you. If the market keeps changing, the rules keep changing, the agents who are willing to work hard to adapt, to think for themselves and not follow the playbook, so to speak, I think really have an opportunity to get ahead and provide that added value. Because at the end of the day, if the market's not changing, how much do our clients really need us to? Because eventually they'll figure it out. So the volatility of the market and the way that we communicate and do business has really been a great opportunity for us as a team who's willing to constantly change and learn and adapt.
I like how you said you stay ahead of your clients. That is a really nice, simple mantra to think about. What do I know today that my clients do not know? And then how do I share that information with them? How do I provide that to them? How do I proactively reach out so that they don't learn it um, via another method or someone
Right.
else? And
And
you go ahead.
I also think you can take that down to the simplest level. I mean, overall, yes, we're talking about things like how to navigate the market, how to get an offer accepted in a 20 offer situation, how to figure out what the new legislation means before anybody's had any formal classes or trainings. But I think you can really take it down to the simple stuff too. I look at my own consumer behavior, and I've realized there's times where, different pieces of the transaction, different times within just a simple transaction, or I have my clients reaching out to me with questions. And there've been plenty of times where I'd say, all right, you know, closing's coming up. I need to, get the utility info to my clients so they know how to set up their utility accounts. Well, I realized if that client then calls me as I'm dialing their phone number and I say, hey, I'm so glad you just called. I was actually just dialing your phone number to tell you this exact piece of information. In their head, one of two things is happening. They're either thinking, yeah, sure, you're lying to me. If I didn't call you, then who knows? Then I would have had to figure this out myself. Or even on top of that is what you call it. Sorry, drawing a like. So number one, but on top of that, today's consumer, especially the younger clientele, I find they really don't want to be a bother. As much as they're paying you to do this stuff, they worry about being a bother. So especially with the younger clientele, if they called me to ask me that question, even if I was about to call them, chances are they were thinking and worrying about that for at least a couple of days before they gained the courage to say, you know what, I've given them enough chances to get on top of this, and now I'm going to ask. So I try to, in the past, I try to address things as they become relevant. And I've learned to adjust my systems and processes to address things before they come to the client's mind, not relevant. So if we're at a point in transaction where a piece of information is not relevant for me to burden my client with for until another month from now, and there's other things we should be focusing on. But I found that consumers typically at this point in time start thinking and wondering about it, that's when it needs to be addressed. Because while I'm trying to get them on board with all these other things, they're sitting there worrying about something else that we're not at yet.
That is an incredibly important piece, is that you understand the emotional and the logical process of a home buyer and home seller and where they are in that process. You are ahead of them in the sense of, I know what's coming, and I'm
Mhm.
going to address that before you, Mr. or Mrs. Consumer, address it. Because like you said, when by the time they bring it to your attention, you're right. Days have gone by. They've already thought about it. They've Googled it. They've wanted to find the answer on their own. You're right.
Mhm.
Younger people don't want to pick up the phone and call you first. They want to get an answer on their own first. They're going to look it up, and then they might get confused, and then they might need a real answer by
Yeah.
calling you to get the final answer. So what you're doing is actually quite profound. It's thinking ahead of the game, and really just being ahead of everyone and thinking, okay, what's coming up? What can I prepare for? What can I prepare my clients for so that
Mhm.
they don't have to Google something, they don't have to call me, that they are, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Okay, that's what's coming. Cool. I think the being prepared is really part of your secret sauce.
Mhm. And also understanding that if it's important to them, it's important. I've had certain some clients where the one spouse says, excuse my husband or wife, they're going to have all these dumb questions about things that are not important, and understand, I've had to explain to them that if it's something they're worried about, then it's important.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Let's I know you're also really into smart home and tech to make homes more efficient. Talk
Mhm.
about where you see that heading, and how do you utilize that in your practice?
Yeah. Um, so I think technology in general, I have a pretty interesting approach. I think a lot of people that may not be as eager to adopt technological advances, at least nowadays, might make the arguments of, well, everybody's got their heads buried in the screen, and we need to be more present in the real world. In my opinion, uh, technological advances, especially in the smart home realm, uh, do just that. They take us out of a screen, and they put us more in the real world. I think good smart home technology and technology that I use to support my business as well should get us all out from behind a computer. They should be more, voice activated than in terms of screens. They should be more intuitive than reactive. Um, and so I think there's a lot of efficiencies and conveniences to be had with smart home technology, especially as much as we like to right now at this point in time complain about how homes are so expensive, and being able to afford a home that's a reasonable size for a family is difficult. If we look historically, our homes currently are much larger than homes of past generations. Some of the houses that we might consider to be normal, or slightly larger than normal, in centuries past, would have had full staff.
Yeah.
Now we have people buying these larger homes that might be more mainstream for today, but larger homes with the expectation and the budget to of maintaining them on their own. And so I think smart home technology is really important for making that possible. Otherwise, a lot of these homes will be overwhelming, and whether it be a physical burden, financial burden, and fall into disrepair.
Yeah, I agree. But the idea of being more present is a really interesting concept, because I was thinking about it as you were saying it, voice activation commands in particular. So I have my home wired for I use Google Home Assistant, and
Mhm.
it while it's certainly not as perfect as I would prefer it to be, it
Right.
it does respond most of the time fairly well, and I just have to talk to it to turn things on, off, dim, etc. I can turn on and off appliances,
Yeah.
and it allows me to maintain a conversation with somebody and just pause for a second while I bark out the command
Yeah.
into the air. And it seems sort of like novelty, maybe like, oh, that's kind of a neat little trick, but it
At first, it's fun
really
to be able to show off to your friends, but
it,
there's a
it
lot
certainly,
of
yeah, it certainly is cool. Like I can tell my shades to go down, and that is fun. But the reality of it is, it does change, or it lengthens the amount of being able to be present, the time I can be present. So it does actually help in a way to allow me to continue what I was doing beforehand with
right.
another human being. So yeah,
And
you're
the
right.
simple things in terms of enjoying our home, like think about it.
Yeah.
You know, agents, we all know if you're showing a house, what do you do before a showing? You open all the shades and you turn the lights on. that, and you don't do it when the client's there. You want them to walk in and be able to, see that sunlight coming in, and really be able to see and enjoy the aesthetics of that home. And as homeowners, you want the same feeling. You come home from work, you want to, or walk in the door, you want to be able to, walk into a well lit, comfortable home with a comfortable temperature, enjoy your beautiful views. And smart home technology allows that, to where before you either keeping your shades open and your lights on, which you're not going to do when you leave the house, or you're walking into a dark, dreary, home. You want to be greeted by your home. You don't want to have to walk in and decide. I mean, before smart home technology, it's all right, I'm going to run upstairs and grab something, and I'm going to do it in the dark because I don't want to run around and hit all the light switches. I want to walk in a room and be able to see everything, see the light coming in, or even waking up in the morning. You want to wake up and have that sunlight hit you before you get out of bed. It's really being present in your home and in the world around you.
Yeah, as you're talking about that, I realize I do a lot of those things where I do have my lights turn on before I walk into my house because
Yeah.
I set it up that way. I have them also turn on in conjunction with the sunset, so I know
Mm-hmm.
that they turn on a certain amount of time before the sun sets. And it again, you're right, it does create an experience. And for realtors, this is something that if your clients have these sort of technologies, you can utilize these in showings. If you have the
Oh yeah.
commands, if you are able to plug into that, you could actually deliver these experiences to people on a showing.
Yeah, I actually, when I sold my last my when I moved last, the home I was selling, I had it so that, it was activated by the smart lock. So when that person unlocked the door, it turned all the lights on, opened all
Yeah.
the shades, and actually greeted them, said, "Welcome to your new home."
Oh, that's great.
And I really feel, I mean, someone who loves homes, I feel that, that that perfect environment should be greeting us when we walk in the door, because that's when it matters most.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I'm getting ready to sell my condo. I'm going to think about how when somebody comes through the showing, I can, well, I won't be there, but it would be great to have them go, welcome to your new home in a way that's
Yeah,
not, yeah,
and it's
that's really,
funny.
go ahead.
Having a smart home, it's fun. It's funny how much stuff I have to do for my clients that I don't have to do in my own home. The amount of times where it's, hey, we went away on vacation, we've got back to back showings, and I've got to go drive over to their house to turn off all the lights for the night. When I'm like, well, if they just had all the smart home tech like I did, I'd be able to just go on my phone and hit the button and be done with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's remarkably inexpensive too. It's amazing how you can do this for very little.
Right. It's not
Let's,
cheap, but if you look, I remember actually with this past holiday season, watching, I think it was Home Alone 4, and the whole premise of the whole thing was that his dad was dating this very wealthy woman where her home was automated, and I'm just laughing because my daughter's looking. It's supposed to be exciting for these kids to see, like, wow, this lady's so rich that like she can tell her shades to open, and they open, and my daughter's looking at me like, what's the big deal? We have this in our house.
yeah. Let's talk about the face-to-face interactions that you and your clients have. How do you maintain your relationships with clients so that in between their home sales, they don't forget about you?
Yeah. Um, so I think one of the cornerstones of my marketing is um, client relationships. I'd say a lot of agents seem to focus a lot on new lead generation. I focus a lot more of my energy on client relationship management. Um, every home that I sell, I want to be the beginning of a long-term relationship with that client and not just a transaction. I want every client of mine to come back to me for every home seller purchase for themselves, for their family, and recommend or refer to me. So I do a lot, in the traditional sense in terms of birthday cards and home anniversary cards and holiday cards and things of that sort. Um, but I really, and I'm always trying to improve this piece, is really try to make a big effort to um, kind of bring them into my family, so to speak. one of the benefits of working in this business is I get to work with so many great people. And the process of purchasing or selling a home is such an intimate process that you really become very close with these individuals. So I try to, not only for my business purposes, but, for me personally as well, to maintain those relationships. I think one of the toughest parts about this business is, let's say you're working with a home buyer, you could be working with them for months. You're really having personal conversations. You're a part of one of the biggest life events for them, and then you close, and it's like, for both of us, it's like, when am I going to see you then? Like, we've been hanging out every weekend and having some really great fun and conversations. So I try to keep it less formal. I've done some of these client appreciation events, but and as my business grows, it's a little bit tougher, but I try to keep it more personal and make sure that I get together with my various clients, no matter how long it's been since they've purchased or sold a home, and make it a little bit more personal, one-to-one, getting dinner, going to the pool, playing some golf, rather than some big generic event or communication campaign that's just, hey, I'm sending this to you and everybody else.
I like it. So you're doing the more small get-togethers and
Yes.
personalized. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how does that translate for you? Again, you're not doing it to get more business, but
Right.
it does result in
It's a
more
factor.
business.
It's a factor, and it's definitely valuable, because I think some of the more generic types of communication that we use to keep in touch with clients and stay, quote unquote, stay top of mind, we might continually be in their faces, but let's face it, everybody we know knows five other realtors.
True.
So just being top of mind isn't always enough. Um, you need to keep reminding them of, it helps to constantly remind them of the relationship that you have, the value that you've provided, the care that you take in them and their lives and their goals. I don't think that you can necessarily accomplish that with some of these more generic marketing campaigns we do. It's nice in between to keep your face in front of them, but if you're not tying that in with, um, more personal touches, then I don't think it's going to be as effective. Not to mention, people, like we said, people don't want to bother you.
Yeah.
A lot of people are thinking of buying or selling a home long before they actually think of reaching out to an agent. Um, so having those personal events, personal communications, personal get-togethers allows these people to pick your brain where they may not have picked up the phone and called you otherwise.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I love the idea of the proactive personal touch is, like you said, every person knows five realtors. They're getting five realtor newsletter emails each month. They're also, probably getting a few mailers here and there, and, maybe even a few texts here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But how many of those other agents that you're technically still competing with are picking up the phone and calling the person and say, hey, how are you doing? Or what's going on with, your business, or how are things at work, or how are the kids, or whatever it might be. That personal touch, that proactive reach out, or
Yeah.
just to share some information. Hey, I was thinking about you. I'm going to send you an updated value of your home so that you can see what I think your home is worth right now. I know you look on Zillow like everybody, but let me take a crack at it.
Yeah, and it's not just evaluations; it's at a more personal level. I think about, like, I get excited for these clients. They all have their personal interests, and these homes are all unique. And finding the right home for them is often extremely exciting for me. So I want to know, not just, I want to keep in touch, not just so I can keep them informed of their value of their home and what's going on with the market, but like, hey, like, you were super excited to put a pool in that backyard. Did you put a pool in yet? Or like,
Yeah.
we were imagining having your daughter's birthday party with pony rides in that backyard. Like, is that happening? I better be getting an invite, because I was super excited I was just as excited with that idea as you were. So, it's really, um, it's much more personal than just dollars and cents and transactions. It's these homes, like we said, uh, it's not an investment in the true sense of the word. It's a lifestyle choice purchasing these homes. And I love to keep in touch with my clients and see. how they're using their homes and how they're enjoying their homes, that they, put so much time and effort. We all put so much time and effort to be able to achieve for them.
How important is it for you to keep your CRM up to date with all of this information?
Very important. At the end of the day, every year that I'm in this business, I meet more people, I sell more houses, and I wouldn't call myself old yet, especially by industry standards, but there's more information going into this brain, and I'm sure as years continue to go by, the output is not going to is going to diminish at some point. So keeping all this information somewhere easily accessible that can assist me is super important.
Yeah. And it also gives you a reference point. It gives you data to talking points when you contact these people. You now have things to chat about. How often are you doing outreach to your existing clients?
Not as often as I should be. I use birthdays and home anniversaries and holidays as benchmarks. My goal is to have those not be the only or reach outs. But I would like to do it more frequently. I think one of my biggest challenges is that intention and desire to make it personal and relevant and authentic sometimes keeps me from reaching out as often as I should. That's where my CRM and my systems really help come into play, not to replace or depersonalize the
Sure.
experience for them or for me, but to be able to keep me on top of it. I would say one of the benefits of working in this business, some people like to say, oh, real estate agents, every relationship is fake and it's so they can tropically sell you a home. I look at it as the other way around. One of the benefits of this business is it forces me to maintain these relationships that I value, but maybe wouldn't put as much instinctively put as much effort into maintaining. And I'm lucky enough as a part of our job to be forced to come up with better ways to keep these relationships going. Um, so, I try to implement more outreach to my clients that are more personalized to them, their needs, their life situations, and steer away from the generic.
I love it. Walk us through I know no day is typical for an agent, but
Mhm.
what are some of those fundamental activities that you do every day?
So when I first wake up, I check my email. One of the systems and automations that I put into place is uh, my uh, my transaction dashboard, transaction management system that I've built myself sends myself and everyone on my team a daily reminder of everything that you need to do that day and in the next 7 days, whether it be confirming a mortgage commitment, reaching out to someone for their birthday, um, things like that. So that's the first thing I check to see that and my calendar to see what the day has ahead of me. Um, and then I check my phone for birthdays. I want to see whose birthday it is, who I can reach out to, wish them a happy birthday. Um, and then from there, it's this is all before I eat breakfast. I have myself set up on notifications. Everybody that is in my contacts, um, I make sure that if there's any home sale activity within their neighborhood, that I'm notifying them of that first.
Wow.
The house came on the market. The house just sold in the neighborhood of somebody that's in my contacts. I'm letting them know. I'm trying
Wow.
to be the first one that they hear from. I want
That
somebody
that is a
to.
profound that is a profound tip, everyone. If you didn't just hear that, what Ryan's doing, that's a great idea. So Ryan has he has alerts set up for his CRM for any home activity, new listings, maybe pendings, closes, whatever is
Mhm.
relevant to that person. He's got it set up so that he can say, "Hey, I just saw this thing happened in your area."
Yeah, if the house came on the market down the street from them, I want them to hear it from me before they wake up, get dressed, pull out their driveway, and drive down the street and see
Wow.
that sign in front of it.
I love that. Are you doing that via text, via call? How do you do that?
Email. I do that via email. And I think most of us have our clients or our active buyers set up on home alerts. simple. You set yourself up on home alerts. Create an alert for every single one of your clients, or for every neighborhood, and then group those clients by neighborhood. Um, it's easy enough. It's helpful not only for sending them emails and texts to and keep them up on it, but even if you're not doing that, set yourself up on those alerts for every single client. So that way, I mean, what's worse than, you go to a happy hour and you bump into someone and they start asking you about the house that just came on the market on their street that day, and you know nothing about it.
Right.
Anybody that you should know what's going on in their neighborhood, and it's easy enough with automated alerts.
Boy, that is a really, really smart idea. And I think you're wrong that most agents don't do that. And I think that fact that you do it is incredible. And I encourage everyone in our audience to set yourself up for with these alerts, because again, someone isn't going to sell their home for the next 7 to 9 years, possibly. But
Right.
everyone's always curious, what did the home down the
They're
street sell
curious.
for?
They
Yeah.
have friends.
Yep.
If you bump into them at a cocktail party and a bunch of information about the house down the street that just came on the market, and their friend was thinking about moving to the area, well, if they showed up and you knew a bunch of information about it, they're much more likely to send them your way.
I'll pull back the curtain a little bit on I recruit realtors for a living, but realtors can take what I do and apply it to their own business. So I have a little trick. It's not a trick,
Mhm.
really. It's something anybody could do. I do a version of this. So
Yeah.
when I see an agent that I want to recruit over to our company, I see that they got a new listing.
Mhm.
So my version of what you're talking about is I send them a text. Hey, I just saw you got a new listing over on Polk Street. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I send them a text. I don't ask them for anything. I just give them a little like, that a boy, good job.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I do that for a couple of reasons. One, I'm genuinely proud or excited for them.
Right.
Two, I also want to be the first person to tell them that I saw that they did something great.
Right.
And and three, it might start a conversation. It might start a conversation about, oh, well, tell me what's going on. Are you happy at your brokerage? Are your brokerage taking good care of you? Because they might think, gosh, my own brokerage isn't congratulating me, right?
Right.
So this is the
Exactly.
same way that realtors can really start to find new clients. Is when you just because you didn't sell somebody a home doesn't mean you can't provide value to them. Doesn't mean
Yeah.
you can't notice, hey, I just saw this thing happen in your neighborhood. I thought you might be interested in it. Or, and now with AI, you could really set up a lot of these automations to run and have AI scour the internet and find information for you and say, oh,
Yeah.
I just saw that, in your neighborhood that this event just happened, or this event's coming up, and I thought you might be interested in it.
Hmm. Yeah. And the key is relevance. We're all getting hit with a ton of information. Um, no one is starving for information. What we're starving for is relevant information.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Relevant information. I love that. And that's why you should have a really detailed CRM, so that you can
Mhm.
know specifically what's of interest to each of the people in your database. And
Yeah.
what we're really talking about, and Ryan, it seems like this entire conversation has been mostly about deepening connection. How do we deepen
Yes.
connection with people? And we're so lucky that we have these tech products that a lot of them largely are free, that allow us to organize this information where our brains aren't going to remember everything perfectly. So we can
Yeah.
leverage technology to remind us, hey, it's someone's birthday, it's someone's home anniversary. Hey, this thing just happened in their neighborhood. Or, I got to reach
Even
out to them
simple
about
stuff.
this.
You go to a broker open house and you see something cool about the house. Oh, it's got a really cool wine cellar. What people do I know that are really into wine? Let me send them a quick photo and say, check out this house. They may not be buying that house, but hey, look, I'm in this house, a really cool wine cellar. I know you love wine, or you're a big fan of basketball. I looked at this person's house and they had a jersey signed by Michael Jordan. Like, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Or Super Bowl ring or something. It's not just, hey, here's a house in your neighborhood that's valuable, but get as granular as you can. Hey, I know that you can't afford to buy a house more than $800,000, and you're not even in the market right now. But I was just in this $10 million house that had a full basketball court. And wouldn't that be awesome? You love basketball.
Yeah, it's this. I'm thinking about you, and
Mm,
and we all are desperately, uh, uh, you know, hungry for the "I think about you"
yeah.
messages, and they don't. The good news is, here's the bad news. The bad news is they take a bit of work to do. The good
Hmm.
news is that they're worth it because they're very infrequent. So,
Yeah.
if you can put a couple of minutes into a genuine reach out for, and Ryan, we haven't mentioned anything about, hey, have you, any sort of salesmanship. This is, we're talking about, building relationships, maintaining relationships, keeping relationships, and doing things that are actually in the client's interest so that
Right.
they want to respond to you. uh,
Yeah.
that this is, really, I see this as the key to what the Bruen group has done. Your team has been very, very successful, and I can see that you're always looking for opportunities to connect.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I have, it's a challenging market right now. We talked about, inventories a little tighter than we would like. Of course, people are maybe sitting on the sidelines because of rates more often than they should, and you know. But you're right, life happens. So tell me a little bit about what are the proactive things you're doing right now just to keep the business running.
Well, two things. Number one, when things do get slower, I work on my business. Sometimes when it gets busier, I'm so busy working in the business, I don't have as much time to work on the business.
Yeah.
So, and when things get slow, the first opportunity I take is let's look at my systems, my processes, our day to day, our budgets. Where can we refine and improve that? Because business is always going to turn around. It's always going to pick up. It could be tomorrow. It could be next month. It could be next year. And let's put ourselves in the best position to take advantage of that, because I feel like if we, when it gets slower, yeah, people would run around and make attempts to generate business that's not there, and there's only so much that you can do. But I always look at the best thing you can do to make the slower times easier is make sure you don't let anything slip through the cracks when it's busy. When you're super busy and a deal falls through, or you forget to call somebody, or you miss an opportunity, you're too busy enjoying the great year you're having to really feel that. And then the next year when you're sitting there saying, oh, business is down, you're looking at it and saying, well, business is down now. It would have been nice if I had closed that one extra deal that I let slip through the cracks last year. So there are things I do to drum up business within, during the slow times, but I'd say my biggest focus during the slow times is put things into place to be able to make sure that things don't fall into the cracks when it's busy, when it might be easier. Fix your net when the fish aren't biting, because when they're biting, you want to be able to grab as many as you
Yeah, that's a great analogy. It's such a smart thing. It's don't they it's the expression, the worst time to learn how to fight is when you're in the middle of a fight. Like
can. Yeah.
don't learn to fight while you're in a fight. Learn beforehand.
Right.
So that you can prepare. So we're talking about preparation, and what I love about your process and your team's process is that you know what you're doing every day. And in fact, you might not even know what you're doing every day, but there's a system that knows what you're going to do every day, and it tells you you're
Right.
going to do this,
Right.
you're going to do this, this, and then you can just execute the plan. And of course, life is going to get in the way anyway, and screw up the day as it does. But
Yeah.
at least you know where your true north is. Oh, I have to get back on this plan. I have to go back to X, Y, and Z. And I have to do some prospecting. I have to do some client maintenance. I have to evaluate my finances. I have to, I have to run the business.
Right.
So
But there's a
you
lot
said
of that stuff that can be done ahead of time. We all think we're so busy, and we are. But out of those things that you're doing that you're busy, how much of that stuff is repetitive? How much of that stuff could be planned for? Um, if the majority of the questions you get from your clients are similar, all right, well, you know, when you're slow, when you have time, sit and slowly and thoughtfully put together that response to that question. So when it comes up, you have the response ready to go. if certain contracts are usually time sensitive that need to be sent out, well, can you put together a template where certain information is filled out already and shorten that time when you're busy and it needs to be done urgently?
Yeah, I really see your team as an educator. You guys are constantly thinking about what's in front of us, what's the next thing that's going to be here. It'll be here soon, so let's prepare for it. Let's get it ready so that the
Mhm.
client, when they come upon it, we already have it solved for them, or we at least have a plan in place, so they're not picking up the phone and calling you. You're
Yeah.
already have called them, and I think that really sums up the Bruen team quite effectively. Bruen Real Estate is where you can find Ryan's team on Instagram, and also Ryan himself is Ryan J. Bruen on Instagram. We're going to have a link to those Instagram accounts as well as Ryan's website for his team. So, Ryan, on behalf of all of our listeners, we thank you so much for your time today. You really gave us a lot of great ideas about how to automate our business, how to systematize, more importantly, how to plan. And I think that is really the key to most of the people I talk to, uh, which are I only talk to top producers on this show. They all have a similar mantra, but you had said it so succinctly. So this we appreciate on behalf of the audience. Thank you for that. And then on
Thank you
behalf
so
of
much for
Ryan
having
and
me.
myself, yeah, and on behalf of Ryan and myself, we want to thank the audience. We appreciate you guys
Yes.
sticking around to the end of the episode. Thank you. We appreciate our sponsors, and we also want to thank our sponsors as well as for everyone listening. The best way that you can help us continue to grow our show is tell a friend. Think of one other agent that could benefit from hearing from Ryan. Send them a link to this episode. We have 700 other episodes, so please send them a link to our website or anywhere they serve up podcasts. You can find us. Leave us a review. We appreciate it. Let us know what you think of the show, how we can improve. We make the show for you, so tell us what we can do to get even better. Ryan, it was a pleasure chatting with you. Your team is crushing it, and I love your energy and your positivity. And you guys, it's really a fun, it seems like a fun team to work with. And, if anyone, by the way, has people who move in and out of New Jersey, and they do, there are people who have places up there who maybe don't live all the time up there. Uh, if you have a feeder market that goes in and out of New Jersey, you should reach out to Ryan because he has people that leave New Jersey as well. He has people
Yes,
that
absolutely.
go down south and retire to Florida and other places. So
That's
you should
very
reach
common.
out to him and make connections because his clients might be moving to your area and your clients might be moving to his area, especially with the pricing in New York right now. So,
Yes.
uh, so Ryan's team is always busy. Ryan, thank you so much, and we appreciate you, and we will see everybody on the next episode. Thanks, Ryan.
All right. Thanks a lot, DJ.